Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another FIFA 21 video, where today we've got a really great video for you today. It is how to get better in FIFA 21. So as you can see in the background, we've got some gameplay going on, mixture of just some gameplay and also some of our analyze gameplay. So you'll be able to watch that at the same time as you're listening to what we're saying, and you might be able to pick up some tips as we're going along and talking about today's video. So if you do enjoy it, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It would be much appreciated. Make sure you follow us on Twitch and Twitter. If you do have any questions, we'll get around to answering them as quick as possible. But without further ado, going into tip number one, it is to master the mind. Now, mastering the mind. Now, the thing about FIFA, and just not even FIFA, just generally life, psychologically, it is so important. FIFA is a game of psychology. It is probably 80% psychology and 20% skill. What we mean by mastering the mind is you have to be able to manage your emotions, not just in FIFA, but just generally. Now, I know there will be some people in this video who will be in the comments and they'll say, FIFA 21's crap, it's this, it's that, it's the other, and they'll just have that negative approach. Now, if you're one of those people, and that's just how you are and how you want to be, that's fair enough, you be like that, but you have to understand that if that's how you're going to be, you're never ever going to get anywhere. You have to have a rock solid mindset when you approach anything, not just FIFA, but just life in general. If you want to be successful at anything, you have to have a strong mindset. You have to be psychologically sound, because if you're someone who just plays FIFA and you lose a close game, you lose a tight game, and you just go, oh, this game's broken, it's this, it's that, it's the other, but there actually might be some things in that game that you can do to actually have put the game in your favor. And yes, those things will happen, but I always tend to think that those sort of AIDS moments, by which in FIFA 21, I have not experienced any AIDS whatsoever. So that seems to be a thing of the past as of right now. But you got to be able to control your emotions. You can't let yourself kind of get too angry. It's not about, being a complete and utter robot and just not letting anything bother you. But you have to kind of have that, if something happens, have that 20 seconds of just outburst, and then you just got to snap back into it. You look at any professional sportsman, you look at anyone who's successful, and you say to them, what's the number one key to being successful? They'll say you got to have a strong mind, because if you're weak-minded, you will not get far in life. So you got to try and really focus on just having a strong mentality and just not letting things bother you. Even if you think something might be crap or just broken or against you that happens in a game, you got to have that little outburst, and then you just got to pull yourself back in and just concentrate, and then just forget about it. If you can learn to do that, learn to not let stuff bother you as much, you'll really start to improve. I've put these tips in order of the most important to the least important. So if you can do this, you will massively improve your game. It's something that I did from last year to this year, massively helped me out, and it's definitely something you need to do. Number two is to practice smarter, not harder. Now, what we mean by practicing smarter, not harder. Now, if I only go and play 3 games today, but I play 3 games and I go and play 3 games, let's say in Division 1, in Division Rivals, and I have a purpose to playing, maybe I want to practice certain skill moves, practice a certain tactic or a certain way of playing or something. You go and practice for a purpose, versus just going, I'm just going to reel off, I'm just going to spam 10 games and, I might win 5, might lose 5, let's see what happens. If you're going into a game with a purpose, you are going to improve. If you just go and reel off 10 games for no reason, all you're going to do is you've just gone to play 10 games. You've not actually gone to improve and do anything. Go and practice some skill moves, go and practice some defending that maybe you watched on a video, or attacking, or maybe you want to practice your crossing or something. But have a purpose to practicing and have a purpose to playing, and you'll notice a big difference. Because the one thing that happens to everybody, the thing about playing lots of games in a row, everybody has a mental fatigue where your level just drops. And some people, it might only be 1 or 2 games. Some people, it might be 6, 7 games. Ultimately, reeling off more games and playing more games of FIFA does not mean that you're going to get better at the game. That's not how it works. You have to practice with a purpose and you will improve. Tip number 3 we've got is to analyze and record your gameplay. Now, this is not something that is necessarily available to everybody. Not everyone has a capture card or some analysis software like I'm fortunate enough to have. I can analyze my own games if I want to. I can record my own games. Not even the analysis. You've got to be able to record your own games, because ultimately, if you never watch your games back, you never know what mistakes you're making. And that one of the best ways to improve is, for me, the fact that I'm fortunate enough to edit so many games. When I make mistakes, when I concede a goal, I might be able to see a pattern. I might go, okay, I keep conceding a goal through that keeps happening. And then you know, you go into your next game and you know, okay, this happens to me all the time. You know how to make those adjustments. It's really important. Adjustments are so important if you want to improve, because you don't have to necessarily completely change everything and just completely change your tactics and just get rid of that player and get that player and it'll be better. You've got to see those mistakes. You know, if you're seeing those mistakes over and over again in watching your games back, you're going to be able to understand and identify where your weaknesses are. If you can identify where your weaknesses are, you can then go and source out the information from myself, from other content creators on how to improve. So it's really important that if you can analyze and record your gameplays, because it will really help really spot some of those weaknesses and just clean your game up. Tip number 4 kind of ties in with the first one where we talked about having a strong mindset, but is to forget about the losses. Now, if you go and play, for example, today and you go and lose 5 games, but you've gone into play and practice with a purpose, you just got to then be able to forget about those losses and go, you know what, I lost 5 games, but I improved though. I managed to make progress in, let's say I was trying to improve my crossing and I was trying to practice some different crossing techniques, and I lost 5 games because I just kept trying to run down the wing and cross and just figure out where's the best place to cross the ball, for example. You know what, I lost all 5 games, but I improved. And you just got to be able to forget about the losses. Like I said earlier when I was talking about the mindset, if you do lose a game or something happens, have a little outburst of frustration for 10-20 seconds, and then you just got to pull yourself back in. You know, if you see so many people who concede maybe a dodgy goal, and it will be like minute 15, and then the game finishes and they've maybe lost by 1 goal, and at the end of the game they're raging, oh, that goal cost me this, that and the other. But you had 75 minutes to try and put that mistake right. At the time that goal happens, have that little outburst, pull yourself back in, control yourself, and then you'll manage to somehow turn the game around. You might be able to turn it around, might be able to get the win, but you've got to be able to forget about the losses when they happen, because if you take frustration and anger into the next game, if you lose a game and think, right, I want to win the next one now, guarantee you will lose the next game, because it always happens. If you go into the next game frustrated and angry, you will always lose the second game, and then you will lose the third game and the fourth game. You've also got to be able to take breaks as well. If you go on a little bit of a losing streak, you lose 1 or 2 games, just focus, just maybe take a break, step away from your desk, step away from your game for 20 minutes, come back, fresh mind, and you will massively improve, and you'll cut just some meaningless losses out that you probably have right now. And then tip number 5, which is probably the least important, which is why it's at the back, is having a meta team. Now, a lot of people think if you have a super meta team, you know, you'll do much better. Now, a buddy of mine who I know who plays FIFA last year had a team. It was kind of around December time. It was definitely under the power curve. He was kind of just scraping gold 1. He was just getting 20 wins. He then came into some coins and managed to get a really good squad. He was now 2 or 3 weeks later, he was above the power curve in terms of his team. He still only got gold 1. It didn't actually really make a difference. Instead of getting 20 wins, he was now getting 21. So having a meta team, it makes a difference, but it is a very slight difference. Now, in terms of a meta team, when does it make a difference? It makes the most difference when you're playing against an equally skilled opponent. So if you're playing FUT Champs and you have, you know, you're a really good player, he's a really good player, and you think you're pretty evenly matched, but maybe he has a slightly better team than you, then he will probably win, because you know how to defend each other, how to attack each other. But if he's got slightly better players at his disposal, then he will pick up the win. That is the only time where team is really a relevant factor. Myself, for example, I played a viewer recently. I beat him 6-2. I was still using sort of some common gold cards and whatnot, and he had a really good Serie A team. He had like Gomez, he had like Koulibaly, players like that. His team was worth 400,000 or 500,000 coins, and I beat him 6-2. So the team is not really a massive factor unless you have sort of equal skill level. But that is it for the video, guys. So hopefully you did pick up some interesting tips, and hopefully you did pick up some things that are going to help you and you can take away from this video that are going to really help you improve in FIFA. So if you did, let me know in the comment section. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you did find the content useful. Make sure you do follow us on Twitter if you do have any questions. Also drop us a follow on Twitch, it would be much appreciated. But that is all for today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.